One of the main reasons end times teaching is difficult to understand is because God's actually dealing with three different groups of people all at the same time. And this really is the basis of the 3 Tracks website. Once you understand that and know the 3 Tracks and understand why God is doing what he is doing with each group of people, all of the end times events, past, present, and future begin to make sense. Actually, all of the Bible will begin to have a clarity that it hasn't had before. These groups of people need to be the filter on how you process any end times ideal. We all know that when we're talking about end times, there's a lot of events that are going to take place. We know not only will the world end one day, but along with that comes all these events that people are talking about. Events such as wars, the mark of the beast, natural disasters, and so much more. While all of that will happen, each event that is included in the end times has a root in one of the 3 groups of people that God's dealing with here on the earth. And here's what's important to note. Every group has promises made to them by God, and every person on earth is part of one of those groups, either by default or by choice. So what are the 3 groups that God is dealing with, and when was each one created? The first group is called the world, or the Gentiles as it's called in the Bible. This group is the ones that do not have a relationship with God. This group came on the scene in Genesis with Adam and Eve. Now initially Adam and Eve were children of God, but when they disobeyed his commandments, they became separated from him. The group of people who fall into this track, the world, are those who don't have a relationship with God. The second group of people are the Jews. This group was created in Genesis 12 when God gave a promise to Abraham that he was going to make him and his family and all of his descendants a great nation. And this isn't a figurative nation, this is a literal nation, the nation of Israel. As you read the Old Testament, a majority of it is this story about Israel and God's interaction with them as a people. This group of people is mentioned throughout the Bible as the Jews. To be in the Jewish track or group of people, you have to be born into it. Your lineage would have to go all the way back to the Abraham of Genesis 12. The third group of people is the church. God's ultimate goal for humans was for us to be in relationship with him. Adam and Eve broke that ability, but when Adam and Eve sinned, it wasn't that God didn't want to be with us anymore. Rather, our now sinful nature, his presence would actually kill us. This would happen because evil can't be in the presence of a perfect and holy God. So when he would come into our presence of Adam and Eve, they would be killed because of the sin that had taken root in their bodies. But God loved us too much to just give up on us and move on from there. So he devised a plan to bring us back to him. He used Israel, that's the Jewish track, not only to tell us what he was going to do in the generations to come, but also to deliver the plan itself. And that plan was Jesus. Jesus came from the Jewish nation of Israel to develop a new group of people called the church. The time of the church won't be forever, but it is our time right now. The church are those who currently have a relationship with God through believing and giving their life to Jesus. This is the group of people that believe that Jesus was the Son of God, that he died, he buried, and came back to life to cover our sin. Although these groups of people all show up somewhere in the Bible at some point, they're still on the earth today. Every group of people, the world, the Jews, and the church, have specific promises that God has given them in the Bible. And even those promises are going to last for generations later. They're still going to be upheld by God. Those promises to each group influence end times events that are going to happen on the earth. And it's important to know how these 3 different groups of people and the promises that were given to each one of them. To learn more about the final important idea about understanding end times events, check out the final video about promises, prophecies, and types and shadows.